What's going on, y'all? It's your boy No Credit. I'm back again with another one. I need you guys to do me a favor, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button with that notification icon for more videos and lives like these. That being said, let's get into it. NOUE still is the number one pound for pound spot, and he was ranked number one by Ring Magazine. And Ring Magazine, we know, is owned by Oscar De La Hoya. So that says a lot. Oscar De La Hoya ranks NOUE. We're going to put the blame on Oscar. So we're going to put the blame on Oscar because he owns the company, right? The Ring Magazine. A lot of people go off of Ring Magazine pound for pound list or ESPN pound for pound list. Those are the two credible pound for pound lists we look at when we look at who's the best fighters in boxing, right? We either look at ESPN pound for pound or we look at Ring Magazine pound for pound. Those are the top two popular pound for pound lists that everybody looks at. Sometimes people look at BoxRec, but BoxRec isn't really that credible. BoxRec just gives you points. When you look at BoxRec pound for pound, it's just all about points. And most of the time, BoxRec doesn't even make sense unless we just looking at, we just go to BoxRec. We just go to BoxRec just to check. We just go to BoxRec just to check a fighter's record or resume. That's pretty much what BoxRec is good for. BoxRec always mess up the rankings. Like you'll look at the 154-pound division. Right now, BoxRec has Virgil Ortiz as the number one guy. Virgil Ortiz just moved up to 154. Not a champion. How is BoxRec ranking Virgil Ortiz, the number one guy in the sport of box, number one guy at 154? That makes no sense. He literally just moved up. So those are some discrepancies when it comes to BoxRec that we must point out. With that being said, Ring Magazine is what a lot of boxing fans look at when we look at a pound for pound list. What exactly is the pound for pound list? Because a lot of people are confused when they look at the pound for pound list. When they look at the pound for pound list, they say, oh, these are the best fighters in the sport. But what makes these guys the best fighter of the sport, or what gives that guy the number one title? Pound for pound is an opinionated opinion about who we believe is the best fighter in the sport. But what are those opinions based off of? They based off of accolades and boxing skills, right? Accolades means what have this fighter done for me? What has this fighter accomplished? And if that fighter was in the same weight class as all the other fighters in all these other weight classes, and if those fighters were to fight each other, who would come out on top? That's what pound for pound really is about. So pretty much, if we put NOUE, because that's part of it, if we put Crawford versus NOUE, so we're pretty much saying if Crawford and NOUE was in the same weight class, who would win that fight? So it's Oscar De La Hoya. It's Oscar De La Hoya saying if NOUE, and because this is part of the pound for pound list. So Oscar De La Hoya, who owns Ring Magazine, is telling the public that if we put NOUE, if they were the same size and we put NOUE in the ring with Crawford, he's telling the public NOUE will beat Crawford. Does that even make sense? And I'm saying if they were the same size, I'm not talking about putting NOUE in the ring with Crawford right now. We're talking about a guy in NOUE, and I like NOUE, but I just gotta call it what it is. So we're gonna get to all of the facts over here. And like I said, I like NOUE, but we gotta keep it 100. So Oscar De La Hoya is telling the public that if we put NOUE in the ring with Crawford, NOUE will beat Crawford, right? This is what Oscar is telling the public because he's the one who owns Ring Magazine, right? It makes absolutely no sense. We're talking about a guy NOUE in his recent fight versus Luis Neri. He got dropped in the very first round, and not just a flash knockdown. He literally got laid out a little bit. He was almost knocked out on his face. A performance. Now let me say this too. Let me say this. NOUE versus Luis Neri, right? 90% of boxing fans knew NOUE was supposed to knock this guy out. So I don't want to hear people say, oh yeah, he got dropped in the first round, but he went out there and he knocked that guy out. But 90% of boxing fans knew he was supposed to get knocked out. The only 10%, and I'm not just going to say 10% because Mexicans probably make up 60% of the sport, but I'm just going to say 10% because we don't really take too much of the Mexicans fans' opinions into consideration because we know the Mexican fan base, they're going to ride for their guy no matter what. So let's be real. They're not really boxing fans to the point where they're purists to the sport. They're just boxing fans based on the fact the guy is of their nationality. Let's be real. We're not going to come on here and sugarcoat boxing. We're going to tell it like it is. Majority of the Mexican fans, some Mexicans, Americans, and I said majority. I didn't say all of them. So you cannot come in my comment section and say, oh, man, you're labeling all Mexicans to just be biased and just pick their guy. No, I'm saying majority. So if you're not part of the majority, then you're okay, okay? I'm saying majority of Mexican fans, they're going to ride with their guy no matter what. So out of all of the boxing fans that was picking the NOUE to knock out Luis Neri, the Mexican fan base was picking Luis Neri for upset. Let's be real. But real boxing fans and all of boxing fans, not saying Mexicans are not real boxing. I'm talking about the people that analyze the sport and not just pick based off of race and nationality. We knew NOUE was going to knock this dude out. We just didn't know what round. That's the only problem. We didn't know what round NOUE was going to knock this dude out. So he goes into a fight where he gets dropped, but he does what we believe he was going to do. But what we didn't believe was the fact that he was going to get knocked down. So, yes, we'll give him credit for the knockout, but we already knew he was going to do that because we knew that wasn't a 50-50 fight. Majority of his fights in those little weight classes at bantamweight, those are not 50-50 fights. There's only one fight of NOUE that everybody was a little confused when we said, man, this is a 50-50 fight. This guy could win. This guy could win. And the only fight I can recall of NOUE that people were 50-50, that was the Stephen Fulton fight, where people was like, man, I got Stephen Fulton winning the fight. I got NOUE winning the fight. That was the only fight I can recall where boxing fans was a little confused on who wins the fight. And I'm not going to lie. I was one of those fans confused because I won't say confused. I was one of those fans being a little biased because if you guys don't know, I'm from Philadelphia. I grew up in the gym with Stephen Fulton. I'm an amateur boxer. I've never sparred Stephen Fulton, but I watch him mature just how I mature myself in the boxing gym, but I never took boxing too serious because I just did it just to stay in shape, just to push myself, but I never really did it because that's a career I want to do. I did it just to have hands in the neighborhood, just to be able to defend myself. I never did boxing because I wanted to be the best at boxing. I did it because I wanted to stay in shape and I wanted just to test myself. My heart wasn't 100% in boxing. That's why I will not go pro. I just did it just to do it, just to understand the sport. I box just to understand the sport. So when I come on the internet and I talk boxing, I know what I'm talking about. So when I come on the internet and say the bigger guys are easier to deal with than the smaller guys because the smaller guys, they have better skill set. So they're hard to beat. And people are like, "You're crazy." I know this shit from experience. I know this stuff from experience. The smaller guys are harder to beat than the bigger guys. The smaller guys got way more skill set. They're faster. They get there first, meaning like their punches are gonna land before the bigger guy land his punches. So the bigger guy is just dependent on landing one big punch to knock you out, while the smaller guy can tag you with multiple punches. And if he connects with multiple punches on your chin, I mean, it don't take that much pressure to knock a guy out. So a smaller guy will always have the advantage if he doesn't get hit on his chin first because he has the physical attributes, the speed, the stamina, the ability, the footwork to outmaneuver the bigger guy. But a lot of boxing fans don't understand that. They think because of size, they think size win fights. They think when a guy is bigger, that means the guy's supposed to win the fight. When boxing is really a skill set thing. Boxing is based off a skill set. But it does play a factor depending on how far the little guy goes up in weight. Then the size does overcome the skill set. When a guy goes up in weight, that's when the size matters. It depends how far he goes up in weight. That's when he gets to his limit. And some of these bigger guys, they could probably walk through his punches and get to him faster than anybody else at his lower weight class could have got to him because the bigger guys are now able to walk through his punches. That's the only time size will matter. When a bigger guy can take your punch and walk through your punches and walk you down. That's the only time size will really matter. Other than that, we got to give the advantage to the little guys. The little guys, if he has a nice little chin and really good defense, the little guy, majority of the time, is going to outmaneuver and outbox the bigger guys. Skills pays the bills. Now let's get back. Let's get back to pound for pound. We know Oscar De La Hoya. We know Oscar De La Hoya controls the Ring magazine, right? We know Oscar De La Hoya controls the Ring magazine, uh, uh, the articles for Ring magazine. He bought the Ring magazine, right? So we have to hold Oscar De La Hoya accountable for his actions. How dare Oscar De La Hoya tell the boxing fans that a guy coming off not his best performance, who gets knocked down, how can you put him over the true pound for pound king and Terence Bud Crawford? Now, I have a boxing page on Instagram where a lot of this stuff was posted, and I had to jump in the comment section and I had to listen to some of these ignorant boxing fans, and we're going to listen to what their argument is on why NOUE should be number one pound for pound. I disagree with everything they're saying. In fact, after that performance by NOUE in the fight, we all knew he should have knocked that guy out, but he got dropped. NOUE should have dropped on the pound for pound list. He either should have dropped or he should have remained number two. Do you understand what I'm saying? So we're gonna dissect this pound for pound list. You don't award a guy number one spot after the guy looks vulnerable in his fight. How we awarding guys? How are we awarding guys? How are we giving guys credit and awarding them statuses after they look vulnerable in their fights? NOUE looked vulnerable in his last fight. That means he stays at number 2 or he drops from number 2 to number 3. But first, let's look at this pound for pound list, and then I'm gonna get more into it. So they got NOUE at number 1, Crawford at number 2, Usyk at number 3. First of all, there should absolutely be no heavyweights on the pound for pound list. We need to have a criteria, and we need to stick by those criteria. Alexander Usyk needs to be removed from the pound for pound list. He is officially a heavyweight. He is a heavyweight. I understand he was at cruiserweight, but once you hit heavyweight, you're no longer considered a pound for pound fighter. The pound for pound list belongs to the smaller guys, not the heavyweights. Boxing fans need to stand on business. We need to remove the heavyweights from the pound for pound list. They do not belong on the pound for pound list. So we're not even going to count Usyk. If we're truly boxing fans, we're going to remove, trust me, I'm not removing Usyk because Usyk is a bum. Usyk could be top 1, top 2, the best fighter in the sport. Guaranteed. I'm not denying that. But I'm saying because of the fact that he's a heavyweight, he does not belong on the pound for pound list. Why are we neglecting the past and trying to change the present? Heavyweights has never been pound for pound fighters. We never put heavyweights on a pound for pound list. Now, all of a sudden, they want to put heavyweights on a pound for pound list. Why? Honestly, if you guys ask me for my honest opinion, I'm going to tell you my honest opinion. It might be racially motivated because right now we know the best heavyweights are not black. Let's be real. The best heavyweights are not black right now. The best heavyweights, Alexander Usyk, Tyson Fury, those are the top 2 heavyweights right now. And those guys are not black. So it makes sense why they would put those guys on a pound for pound list, if they want to promote a racial agenda. That's the only reason why I can think about why they will put these guys on a pound for pound list. Because, what? Heavyweights never been on a pound for pound list. Why all of a sudden you want to put them there? Because the top heavyweights in the world are white. So now on the pound for pound list, we can put heavyweights on there. It makes no sense. Why didn't you put heavyweights on the pound for pound list when they were black? I don't want to make it a racial issue, but I'm just pointing out the obvious. That's what I see when I look at it. When I see heavyweights on the pound for pound list, I give credit where credit is due. The best heavyweights right now are white, but they do not belong on a pound for pound list because the pound for pound list belongs to the little guys. So we're willing to admit that the best heavyweights is Tyson Fury and Alexander Usyk. But do not put these guys on the pound for pound list. They do not deserve to be on the pound for pound list because the pound for pound list are for the little guys. And that's facts. And that's facts. No matter what you want to say, that's facts. You cannot dispute that. Heavyweights has never been on a pound for pound list. Why all of a sudden you want to put these guys on a pound? It's disrespectful to the sport. So we're going to ignore Usyk on a pound for pound list, and we're going to put Shakur Stevenson on the pound for pound list. So I'm going to do the pound for pound list where we take Usyk off and put Shakur Stevenson on there. And once again, I'm not saying Shakur Stevenson has done better things than Usyk. Like I said, Usyk is top 1, top 2, and top 3, the best heavyweight or the best fighter in the world. But right now, heavyweights should not be on the pound for pound list. These are just the facts. Okay? Moving forward, Canelo Alvarez. Canelo Alvarez. Canelo Alvarez deserves to be on the pound for pound list. He does have the best resume in the sport. But is he the number one pound for pound fighter in the world? Absolutely not. Just because you have the best resume in the sport does not make you the number one pound for pound in the sport. Why? Because the resume is questionable. Canelo Alvarez's resume is questionable. We question Canelo Alvarez's resume over and over and over again. So Canelo cannot be number one pound for pound if his resume is questionable. Canelo Alvarez's best win of his career was against older, past their prime Hall of Famers. They're big names, Hall of Famers, but they were way past their prime, like the Miguel Cotto of the world, the Shane Mosley of the world, completely past their prime. So it looks good when we look at Canelo Alvarez's resume. Oh, Canelo beat Miguel Cotto. Canelo beat Shane Mosley. Canelo beat this guy. He beat that guy. It looks good on paper because of the name. But when we look at the age on when Canelo fought these guys, we like, damn, that's not fair, bro. You fought a grandpa. You fought a grandpa, bro. You want us to give you credit for fighting somebody's granddad? The man was 40 years old, 45 years old with grandkids when you fought him. You was in your 20s when you fought this grandpa. You fought a guy old enough to be your dad. And you want us to give you credit for fighting a guy old enough to be your freaking father, bro? You fought a guy old enough to be your father, bro. And you want us to give you credit for that. That's not how boxing should be. We cannot give this man credit for fighting guys that have grandkids and shit and say he's the number one pound for pound fighter. That makes no sense. He has 2 confirmed losses. Arguably, he should have more losses than what he has right now. Canelo should have more losses than what he has right now. He arguably lost 2 out of 3 fights versus Gennady Golovkin. Let's be real, guys. Let's be real. Let's not sugarcoat this boxing stuff. He arguably lost 2 out of 3 fights in the Gennady Golovkin fights. We're not going to sugarcoat this stuff. So we're going to get off Canelo. He deserves to be on a pound for pound list because of his resume, but he is not pound for pound number one fighter in the world. Arthur Beterbiev. Arthur Beterbiev doesn't have enough fights to be the number one fighter in boxing right now. He has a 100% knockout ratio. He's a unified champion. He's a one division champion. He's a pound for pound fighter, but he is not the number one pound for pound fighter in the world. Dimitri Bivol, solid fighter, pound for pound level fighter because he beat Canelo Alvarez, and he's been fighting solid guys, but he is not the number one pound for pound fighter in the world. But he does deserve to be on a pound for pound list. Errol Spence. Errol Spence was top 3, top 5 pound for pound fighter. He only lost 1 fight, and that was to the number one pound for pound fighter in the world, which is Terence Crawford. He does deserve to be on a pound for pound list. You cannot take Errol Spence off the pound for pound list after 1 loss and keep Canelo Alvarez on the pound for pound list, who has 2 losses. That makes no sense. Boxing fans want to take Errol Spence Jr. off the pound for pound list because he has 1 loss. Canelo has 2 losses. So are we going to go off an undefeated record? You want to take Errol Spence off the pound for pound list for having 1 loss, but you want to keep Canelo on a pound for pound list. He has 2 losses and a freaking draw. He has 2 losses and a draw, and majority of his top wins have been controversial, where in Gennady Golovkin fights, he lost arguably 2 out of 3 of those fights. So you want to keep Nello on a pound for pound list, but you want to take Errol Spence off the pound for pound list. Boxing fans, are ridiculous. They don't make any sense when it comes to the sport of boxing. And we're not going to listen to majority of you boxing fans. Errol Spence deserved to be on the pound for pound list with only one loss. Gervonta Davis, I think Shakur Stevenson deserved to be on a pound for pound list over a Gervonta Davis. But I wouldn't mind if Gervonta is before Shakur. I think they're neck and neck. So we need to put Shakur and Gervonta neck and neck on the pound for pound list. And then we need to put NOUE. We need to put Devin Haney on a pound for pound list. He only has one freaking loss, bro. The man lose one time and you want to take him off the list. So the bottom three should be Gervonta Davis, Devin Haney, and Shakur Stevenson. What the freak is wrong with this dumbass pound for pound list, bro? Where is Shakur Stevenson? Where is Devin Haney? The man loses one time and you take him off the pound for pound list. Errol Spence loses one time and you want to take him off the pound for pound. Boxing doesn't make any sense anymore. When we got a guy in Canelo Alvarez who has 2 losses and a freaking draw. He has 2 losses and a draw. Devin Haney loses one time and you want to take him off the pound for pound list. Teofimo Lopez should be on a pound for pound list. We need to put Teofimo Lopez on a pound for pound list. Let me tell you all these guys that need to be on a pound for pound list. Bam Rodriguez is a solid fighter. Who's this other guy? I think Nakatani. Those guys are not better than Shakur Stevenson, Devin Haney, or Teofimo Lopez. Where is Teofimo Lopez? This pound for pound list is a freaking joke. It's a freaking joke, bro. Where is Teofimo Lopez? Where is Devin Haney? Where is Shakur Stevenson? Those 3 guys should be on the pound for pound list. We need to remove Alexander Usyk because heavyweights don't deserve to be on a pound for pound list. And we need to add the 3 people that need to be removed from this list: Alexander Usyk, Bam Rodriguez. He's a solid fighter, but we got to remove him because he is not better than Shakur Stevenson, Devin Haney, or Teofimo Lopez. So we need to take 3 people off to this list: Usyk, Bam Rodriguez, and Nakatani. And we need to add Shakur Stevenson, Devin Haney, and Teofimo Lopez. Those are pound for pound fighters. Usyk is a pound for pound fighter, but he is a heavyweight. We cannot keep a heavyweight on the pound for pound list. That's disrespectful to the sport. The pound for pound list belongs to the smaller guys, not the freaking heavyweights, bruh. Boxing is in shambles. We cannot take boxing serious if they keep doing nonsense like this. Usyk needs to be removed from the pound for pound list because he's a heavyweight. Teofimo Lopez, Devin Haney, and Shakur Stevenson should replace Usyk, Bam Rodriguez, and Nakatani. Then the pound for pound list will make sense, and Crawford needs to be number 1. Now that I've said all of that, let me address Crawford and NOUE. How can we put NOUE over Crawford? Crawford has 40 wins, 31 KOs. Crawford has more knockouts than NOUE has fights. This is laughable. This is a laughable pound for pound list. And the casuals are laughing at us hardcore boxing fans. How do you put a guy over a guy who has more knockouts than the other guy has fights? Crawford has more knockouts than NOUE has fights. The man has 31 knockouts and NOUE has 27 fights. How do you put a guy with 27 fights over a guy who has more knockouts than he has fights? That makes absolutely no sense. He has 40 wins with 31 knockouts, and NOUE has 27 wins. He doesn't even have as much wins as Crawford has knockouts, and boxing fans are saying Inoue is fighting more than Crawford. It's all about activity. What freaking activity are you talking about, you casual fangirl? You casual fangirl? You speak on activity, but activity means absolutely nothing when one guy has double the amount of fights the other guy has. You people makes absolutely no sense. I have more knockouts than you have fights, and you're telling me about activity. You casual fangirl. Stop embarrassing yourself on a sport you know absolutely nothing about. How can you talk about activity when one guy has more knockouts than you have fights? This is the guy to become undisputed in the four belt era before any other person. He was the first to do it, right? He was the first to become undisputed. He was the first to become undisputed twice. He's a 3-division champion, soon to be 4-division champion, right? What are we arguing about? He's fighting better competition. He has double the amount of fights. He has more knockouts than you have fights. And you want to put this guy ahead of him. And even NAOYA Inoue was interviewed. They interviewed NAOYA Inoue. They said, who is the number one pound for pound fighter? Inoue says Crawford. What is wrong with boxing? What is wrong with boxing fans? NAOYA Inoue himself said Crawford is the number one pound for pound fighter. So even the guy they're putting above Crawford is telling them, hey, you guys got it wrong. I'm good, but right now, Crawford is still number one. He has 40 fights, 31 knockouts, 2-time undisputed, 3-division world champion, fighter of the year in 2014, and he got robbed of fighter of the year in 2023. He was in the biggest fight of the year in 2023. His trainer wins trainer of the year, and you rob him. You snub that man of fighter of the year. This is disrespectful to the sport of boxing, and it has some racial agenda written all over it. Boxing is definitely a racial sport. Let's be real, guys. Let's be real. How do you snub a guy fighter of the year when he was in the fight of the year and he won in impressive fashion? How do you snub a guy fighter of the year when he was in the fight of the year, the fight of the decade, the fight of the century, and you snub this guy a fight of the year? That's a slap in the face to boxing fans. You guys are telling us we don't know boxing. How are you telling us we don't know boxing and we're the one promoting these fights? You're telling us what to believe. You cannot tell us what to believe. When Crawford was the overwhelming favorite for fighter of the year. You're disrespecting the sport. The guy was in the fight of the century. Number one pound for pound versus number 4 pound for pound. 2 pound for pound elite level fighters fight each other, and one guy comes out on top and win almost every single round and gets a knockout, and you rob that guy of fighter of the year? That's disrespectful to the sport. And you say, we're going to give it to this guy in the lower weight class who fought guys we don't even freaking know. Inoue is not fighting no pound for pound level talent, and you want to give him the number one spot, and you want to give him fighter of the year, all because you casual fangirls say activity. When activity makes no sense, how does activity makes no sense? Activity makes no sense because how is this guy fighting all these times, yet I have more knockouts than he has freaking fights, bro. I have 31 knockouts. He has 27 fights. And you're telling me about activity? I have double the amount of fights this guy has. Do you think Inoue will ever reach 40 wins in his career? He's 31 years old. Do you think he'll ever reach? Do you really sit down and think about it and say, at 27 fights, will Inoue ever reach 40 fights? That's almost 20 more fights he has to fight. Well, 13 more fights. He's 31 years old. When do we believe Inoue is going to retire? He's 31 years old. Let's say he retires. Let's say he retires. Let's see. Let's say he retires 36, 37, maybe 38. You think by the time he's 38 years old, he'll have 40 fights or more than 40 fights? He might retire before that age. He may never reach 40 fights. He may never reach 40 fights. He's only at 27 fights. And what does this remind us of? This reminds us when boxing disrespected the sport a few years ago when they put Vasyl Lomachenko, who only had 10 fights. So this isn't new. There is nothing new under the sun. They've been doing this bullshit, and they continue to do this bullshit and spit in the face of boxing fans who spend our hard-earned money on these fights. They continue to spit in our face. This is disgusting for the sport of boxing. They did this shit before with a guy named Chocolatito, a guy nobody freaking knew, bro. He's fighting in these lower weight classes. They said the number one pound for pound fighter in the world is Chocolatito. We like, who the freak is that guy, bro? Who the freak is Chocolatito, bro? You want to put this guy at number one pound for pound, and nobody even know who this guy is. He's fighting in these lower weight class we don't even freaking pay attention to, bro. Then Chocolatito get knocked out. They said, you know what? We're going to leave Chocolatito alone. He's not pound for pound no more. We'll give pound for pound to Vasyl Lomachenko, who only has 10 fights and a loss. Now tell me, boxing fans, if that's not a slap in the face, then I don't know what is. That's a complete slap in the freaking face, bro. How do you put a guy with 10 wins and a loss, who he lost to a guy with double-digit losses in Orlando Salido? How do you put that guy number one pound for pound over Andre Ward and Terence Crawford? Boxing is just flexing their muscle. The powers that be are just flexing their muscle and telling us we do what the frick we want to do, and there's nothing you guys can do about it. Our opinions don't matter no more. They want to put whoever they want to put at the number one spot because they want to do that. It's not about resume. It's not about who you beat. It's not about activity. It's because they want to put these guys there. Why the freak is a heavyweight on a freaking pound for pound list? This don't make no sense. This is disrespectful to the sport. Do not tell me about activity when I have more knockouts than you have freaking fights. I have 31 knockouts and you have 27 fights. I have 40 fights. And you're telling me about activity, you freaking casual fangirl. Don't talk activity to me. I will slap the shit out of you. I will slap the shit out of you if I was sitting in front of a boxing fan and we was arguing about boxing and they tell me why Inoue should be number one pound for pound and they told me because of activity, I would slap the shit out of this guy. The reason why I would slap the shit out of you because all you got to do is look at their resume and look at their records. One guy has 40 fights, the other guy has 27 fights. One guy has more knockouts than the other guy has fights. And you're telling me about activity? If activity really matter, why don't this guy has more? How come this guy don't have more fights than the guy you talking about is not active? You can't speak on activity when I have double the amount of fights you have. The freak are you talking about, bro? Don't ever mention that word activity again. I will embarrass you, you casual fangirl. I have more knockouts than you have fights, and you want to mention activity, you casual fangirl. Keep your mouth shut, bro. And it's time for me to read some of these comments, man. I had to hop in my feelings for a second because boxing doesn't make sense. And the powers that be are disrespecting the sport. And we need to stand up for fighters like Terence Crawford. Now, let me read some of these comments. We got a typical casual fangirl, and he calls himself Snoopy. So, Snoopy, salute. You say some of the most bullshit shit I've ever heard in my life. First of all, the name Snoopy is crazy. That's nasty work, Snoopy. What the freak are you snooping around for? Anyway, let me read this guy comment and we're going to break it down. Snoopy says, salute to you, but NOUE didn't steal anything. Since 2020, Bud has only fought 4 times, whereas NOUE has fought 8 times. Bud and Usyk are great. They only fight once a year. Activity matters. You could say that about, let me keep your comment up. You could say that about Usyk when you talk about activity matters because Usyk doesn't have that many fights. But when we talk about activity matters, we must look at the resume and we must look at the amount of fights. Snoopy, before you open your mouth to say some nonsense like that, you educate yourself on the sport and you look at the freaking facts. You casual fangirl. One guy has 40 fights. The other guy has 27 fights. How the freak can you open your mouth and talk about activity, you casual fangirl? One guy has more knockouts than the other guy has fights. And you're talking about activity, bro? Are you freaking kidding me, bro? Bro, if you were standing right in front of me right now, I would slap the shit out of you for saying some bullshit like that. You can say that about Usyk, who doesn't have that many fights. So you can say activity matters because Usyk doesn't have that many fights. But you cannot say that about Crawford, who has more knockouts than NOUE has fights. So activity doesn't make it makes absolutely no freaking sense, bro. Don't say stupid shit in my comment section, bro. Next person, we got Snoopy again. Box rec is awful. Yeah, box rec is awful. Bud and NOUE, Usyk, Canelo are my big 4 on the pound for pound list. Snoopy, here you are again, buddy. If you watched the live, and I hope you paid attention, there is absolutely no reason heavyweights should be on the pound for pound list. Usyk needs to be removed from the pound for pound list. We need to hold the pound for pound list to a certain criteria. There is no reason heavyweights should be on a pound for pound list. Take this guy off the pound for pound list. I know how great he is, but he does not belong on the pound for pound list based on the fact he's a heavyweight. The pound for pound list belongs to the little guys. It's always been that way. Why all of a sudden we're adding heavyweights to the pound for pound list? It makes absolutely no sense, and it needs to be addressed. Bro, Mean Machine had Buzz proposing on one knee. Casual fangirl. That Mean Machine fight where Bud went down, that fight, that so-called knockdown was never ruled a knockdown. Okay? And that fight was a long ass time ago. So we're bringing up a fight from a long ass time ago, and we're comparing that to a NOUE who just fought recently. Or Snoopy, bro? I swear to God, Snoopy, if you was sitting right in front of me right now, bro, and saying some of the most stupidest shit in my comment section, I would slap the shit out of you, bro. I'm not lying to you, bro. Snoopy, if you was sitting right in front of me right now and saying some of this stupid shit in my comments, I would slap the shit out of you, bro. And I mean that in a friendly way. I probably wouldn't slap you, bro, but it will really piss me off because some of the shit you're saying, bro, is ridiculous. I mean that in a friendly way, bro. At the end of the day, this is just boxing. This is our opinion. I mean that in a friendly way. I would slap you in a friendly way, but some of the shit you're saying is ridiculous, Brody. Like, it's ridiculous. You're talking about Mean Machine fight that happened years ago. I'm talking about a NOUE getting dropped recently. His last fight, bro, which was a couple of days ago. How can we compare something from Mean Machine, which wasn't even considered a knockdown? It was unofficially a knockdown, and you're comparing that to what just happened to Inoue? That doesn't even make sense, bro. It makes me want to grab you by the jacket and shake some sense into you, bro. Snoopy, it makes me want to grab you by your jacket and just shake you, bro. And say, come back to reality, you casual fangirl. Don't say stupid stuff like that, buddy. Damn, Snoopy. You can't be that delusional, bro. You cannot be that delusional when it comes to the sport of boxing, bro. That's ridiculous to say that, Snoopy. Watch yourself on here, buddy. I want to grab Snoopy by the jacket and shake this guy for saying this nonsense that you see on top of my screen right now. This guy is talking about Mean Machine drop, but he's talking about a fight from years ago. I'm talking about a fight that just happened a couple freaking days ago where we saw Inoue got flattened. And this guy is talking about Mean Machine fight that was unofficially a knockdown. Are you serious, bro? You will lose any argument or any court case in a court of law for seeing nonsense in my comment section. Now, it's Snoopy again. Fulton was 50-50 fight in 2019. Snoopy, listen to me, buddy. If you watch the entire live, I said that's the only fight we know about with Inoue that was a 50-50 fight. All of his other fights, compared to Bud, let me explain it to you, Snoopy, since you don't follow the sport of boxing. When we look at Bud fights, when we look at his resume, every single fight Bud goes into, when we read the comment section, what do the comment section say? This is the fight Crawford's going to get exposed. He has a fight coming up against Madrimov. Everybody's saying Madrimov's going to knock Crawford out. Madrimov going to knock Crawford out. When Inoue was about to fight Luis Neri, can you show me any comments where people were saying Luis Neri is going to knock Inoue out? Luis Neri is going to knock Inoue out. So you're not making any sense. When every single Terence Crawford fight, they picked Terence Crawford to lose before the fight, but after the fight, they said, man, that guy was washed or that guy wasn't good enough. Snoopy, you probably don't follow the sport enough, so you're ignorantly saying whatever pops to your head in my comment section. So, but I don't blame you. I blame your lack of education on the sport of boxing. You embarrass yourself in my comments every time you get a chance to. So it's laughable. Snoopy says, I'm in South Jersey, 20 minutes from you. Salute. I just bought my Bud Crowley tickets. My Bud Crowley tickets. First title fight in the city since 2023. Bud isn't fighting Crawley. You mean Boots? Boots is fighting Crawley. So you're coming to Boots versus Crawley fight? That's in Philadelphia, yeah. At the Wells Fargo Center. Nice. You know, I don't know if I'm gonna make that fight. I don't know if I'm gonna make it. Um, it's a great homecoming fight for Boots, but I don't know if I'm gonna make it. For some reason, I'm not too excited for that fight. So I'm not gonna spend my money on a fight that I'm not too excited for. I understand it's close to home, but I'm not really too excited for that fight. If I was excited for the fight, let's say for example, all right, let me tell you a fight that I would have paid my money for. That if I saw Boots fighting somebody, Let's say Boots was fighting Virgil Ortiz in Philadelphia. I would pay my money for that fight. I'm not paying my money for Boots versus Crowley. I'm not I'm not excited for that fight. But salute to you, Snoopy. You know, I support Boots. I want to see Boots do good, but I'm not paying my money. I don't think my money should go to Boots versus Crawley. That's just me. I don't want to downplay the fight. I'm just saying that's just me. I'd rather see Boots versus Stanionis. I probably pay for that fight. Boots versus Virgil Ortiz. I would definitely pay for that fight. Boots versus who else? Boots versus maybe Mario Barrios. I'll pay for. But Crowley, come on now. Crowley, no disrespect to Crowley, but that's not a fight I am looking forward to paying for. This is a coming out party fight for Boots to look good, and he better look good because if he looks bad in that fight, he should never mention Terence Crawford's name again. Facts, lighter guys, way more skills. Yeah. Usyk is one of the better big skilled guys I've seen. Yeah, but he doesn't belong on the pound for pound list. Holyfield was on the pound for pound list when he fought at heavyweight, so we got to keep the same energy. I don't remember that. But if that was the case, then maybe I'm wrong on Usyk, and Usyk should be on a pound for pound list. But I don't remember Holyfield being on a pound. In fact, Snoopy, I wasn't around for Holyfield, so I don't remember that. You know, I wasn't around for Holyfield, buddy. I didn't see a Holyfield fight live. Bro, if you look up Ring Magazine 1991 pound for pound ranking, Holyfield was ranked number 4. Okay, maybe you have a point, Snoopy. Maybe, maybe, but in recent years, we haven't seen heavyweights on a pound for pound list. They just started doing that shit again. So maybe you have a point. I'll give you that, Snoopy. Maybe you have a point. But other than that, I don't remember heavyweights being on a pound for pound list. I think it's a joke. I think the pound for pound list should belong to the smaller guys. This guy's still crying. What the fuck? NAOYA and NOUE won. Those are the facts. Deal with it. For that solo, you don't know shit about boxing. Keep your opinions to yourself. Be quiet. Don't speak on a sport you know absolutely nothing about. You cannot even name 10 of the NOUE last opponents. But yet, he's number 1 in your head. Casual fangirl. We seen the same shit with Vasily Lomachenko. Once the NOUE takes a loss, then you guys are gonna be you guys are gonna be saying a different tone. You casual fanboy. Snoopy, Mike Tyson, Bo Holyfield were all on the Ring Magazine pound for pound list. That's just from 1989 to 1993 that I looked. Okay, Snoopy, I'm glad you're doing your homework. I like that. I'm gonna put this comment up from my guy Snoopy, right? Snoopy, I'm glad you're doing your homework, bro. I appreciate that. But as of the last 10 years, when we look at the pound for pound list, we haven't really seen heavyweights on a pound for pound list. Only recent of 2022, 2023, they started putting these heavyweights on there. But they in recent years they haven't been on there. They just started putting these guys on there, you know. And I wonder why. Me personally, if you ask me, don't ask me, but if you ask me, I would think it's a racial bias. That's just me. I could be wrong, but like we know the best heavyweights in the world right now are white. So they want to give these guys their shine, you know. So I can't knock it. They want to give these guys their shine, but if we look at the criteria and we look at what we've been seeing, heavyweights haven't been on that pound for pound list. So that's my problem with the pound for pound list. Why wasn't Deontay Wilder on the pound for pound list, or was he? Why wasn't man? I just don't want heavyweights on the pound for pound list. Well, it's not about what I want. I just don't believe heavyweights should be on a pound for pound list because the pound for pound list should belong to these little guys. These are the guys moving up in weight, kicking ass, and taking names. These are the guys that should be on a pound for pound list, not the heavyweights. But anyway, that's neither near nor there or whatever. But in my opinion, like I said before, the heavyweights shouldn't be on the pound for pound list. But if they want to put them there, so be it. So be it, bro. But they got to get the pound for pound list correct. They got to get the number one guy correct. And it's not even close. It's a huge gap when we look at the number one and number two. You cannot put a guy with 27 fights over a guy with 40 fights and have more knockouts than the other guy has fights. It's laughable. It's disrespect to the sport. It's a slap in the face of hardcore boxing fans. And they need to stop that. Spence should not be there. Navarrete is a 3 division champ, about to be 4, and it's active. While Spence damaged goods, barely fights. I disagree. Spence only has 1 loss. We cannot punish a guy with 1 loss. Spence deserves to be on a pound for pound list. That makes no sense, buddy. I will keep Spence on the pound for pound list. We cannot take a guy off a pound for pound list because he takes 1 loss. They take Devin Haney off, and they're trying to take Earl Spence off, which makes no sense. It makes absolutely no sense. Spence got destroyed bad. We never saw Canelo look like that. Bro, it don't matter how you lose, bro. It don't matter how you lose. You can lose bad. You can lose in a close fight. The fact is you lost. So whether he got destroyed or didn't get destroyed, he only has 1 loss. So 1 loss doesn't mean you should take the man off the pound for pound list. If that's the case, Canelo shouldn't be on the pound for pound list. He has 2 losses and a draw. Take him off the pound for pound list. You guys are not making any sense. Yeah, Spence should definitely not be on there. Only 1 division champ got destroyed badly. Anybody that gets destroyed like that doesn't deserve to be. I disagree. It don't matter how you lose. It's all about the fact that you lost. Destroy or not destroy does not mean you don't belong on a pound for pound list. You belong on a pound for pound list because of what you've done. So he deserved to be on there. I disagree with anybody saying Spence shouldn't be on there. I completely disagree. Spence deserved to be on a pound for pound list until otherwise. We haven't even seen the guy fight recently yet. Let's see what he does in his next fight. If he gets beat in his next fight, then you guys have a point. But we cannot take him off the pound for pound list just because he gets 1 loss. Canelo has 2 losses and a draw, and arguably should have been 5 losses or more. He should have lost to Lara. He should have lost to GGG 2 times. So he has 2 losses plus those three other fights. He should have 5 losses. Yet he's still on the pound for pound list. And you people are not saying nothing about it, but you want to say something about Earl Spence 1 loss because he lost badly. It makes no sense. And I'm not buying it. NOUE, Bud, Usyk, Canelo, Bivol, better be if Bam, Teo, Shakur, Tank are my top 5, top 10. Let me see. Where's Devin Haney in your top 10? Where's Devin Haney? You need to put Devin Haney on there. And you got NOUE ahead of Bud. I cannot look at your list no more. It's Bud and NOUE. Take a NOUE from number 1. Bud is number 1. Estrada has done more, but he is so inactive. Bro, here we go with this inactive stuff again. Pound for pound is not a career resume list. It's what have you done for me lately? Pound for pound is not about career resume list. It's what have you done for me lately? Okay, Snoopy, right? Let me put Snoopy is saying a lot of shit on here. Let's give Snoopy the recognition he wants. Okay, we're gonna give Snoopy. We're gonna give you the recognition you're craving so bad. You sound like Ryan Garcia. The guy is a attention clout whore. So we're gonna give you that Ryan Garcia treatment you want so badly. Or maybe I'm wrong. You're just engaging, which is good too. But if you're on a Ryan Garcia tip, we'll give you that. But maybe that's not the case. You just want to go back and forth and state your opinion, which you're entitled to. So I'll let you do that, Snoopy. But you're talking about what have you done for me lately? What about who have you beat lately? Who have you beat for me lately? Right? He just fought a guy, Luis Neri, who dropped him in a fight everybody expected him to win. We just didn't know what round. So you're telling me off of that Luis Neri fight, he deserved number one pound for pound? Is that what you're telling me, Snoopy? You have to have some common sense and some reasoning to why you believe he should be number one. If you believe he should be, because he was just number two, if you're telling me he's deserved to be number one off his recent fights, then you don't know shit about boxing. Because off of his recent fights, where you're talking about what have you done for me lately, he does not deserve to be number one off of that recent fight, where he got dropped and almost got knocked out in the first round. So for you to say what have you done for me lately makes absolutely no sense. Do you understand that, Snoopy? It makes absolutely no sense. And you're ridiculous for saying that, buddy. Now, Inoue just went two-time undisputed, bro, in a calendar year. He is 31, Bud is 36. Here we go again, Snoopy. Snoopy, who did he beat to go two-time undisputed? And who did it first? Crawford did it first. Crawford became two-time undisputed before Inoue. So we're gonna take credit from a guy who did it first, right? So this is what Snoopy is telling us. Let's take credit from a guy, Crawford, who did it first and give it to Inoue because Inoue did it after Crawford did it. Why don't we keep the guy who did it first at the top? He did it first. You said he went two-time undisputed in a calendar year. It don't matter how fast he did it. A guy ahead of him already did it. It don't matter how long it takes you to get to the finish line, as long as you get to the finish line. So you're not making any sense, Snoopy. You're making absolutely no sense. I don't care how fast you did it. I did it too. If we both did the same thing, it don't matter who did it faster. What it matters is how we did it and who did we do it against, right? And when we look at how Inoue did it, he did it the easiest. Crawford did it the hardest because he fought a top three pound for pound fighter and he won every single round. So you're not making any sense. So if we really look at it, we're gonna stick with the guy who did it first and who fought the better competition. Now that makes more sense than a guy doing it in 1 year against low-level competition. You're talking about he's 31, Bud is 36. Bud has 40 fights, 31 knockouts, and Inoue has 27 fights. He has less fights than Bud has knockouts. You're not making any sense. Inoue has done just as much in 27 fights than Bud in 40 fights. It don't matter if he's done just as much in 27 fights. But the question is, will he ever reach 40 fights? The question is, will he ever reach 40 fights? Will he ever reach that? He may get beat before he even reached that. You could say, oh, he has done just as much in 27 fights than he has in 40 fights. But the question is, will he ever reach 40 fights? That's the real question. So you can do just as much in 27 fights, but what if you never reach 40 fights? then we're going to have to say, look, he did just as much as this guy, but he was never able to reach 40 fights. So you're not making any sense, buddy. You're not making any sense. He may never reach 40 fights, especially if he keeps going up in weight. He may get beat before he even reach 40 fights. Boxing is a global sport, man. That isn't it. He American list. The Ring Magazine is the Ring Magazine is an American company. I know it's not an American list. Boxing is a global sport, but the Ring Magazine should be fair. Oscar De La Hoya and the Ring Magazine should be fair. They know who the true pound for pound king is, and that's Bud Crawford. You cannot put this guy. You cannot put this guy over Crawford when he doesn't deserve it. So you're talking about it's not an American list. Nobody said it was an American list. But it's an American company, and they should know better. This news got me spinning, but not like that. Nary left hand had, hey, no way. Pound for pound king, Bud Myers, salute. Park Money TV, salute. Pound for pound king, Bud Myers, salute. 48 hours later, Lone and Cambosa is still facing off. World Combat Sports, I didn't even see you in there. Salute, World Combat Sports. I'm telling, man, you're bringing up resume from a long time ago, bro. Now you're saying Me Machine is too long ago, bro. It's all love. Pound for pound king, Bud Myers. He says, Mean gave Bud a better fight than EJ. I got Mean over EJ all day. Bud is a monster. I'm not hating. Nonito Donaire versus NOUE 2019 was 50-50 in my opinion. It was fight of the year. Snoopy. Come on, Snoopy. You're beginning, you're making me question your Snoopy. Listen to me, bro. You're about to make me question your boxing knowledge. How is Nonito Donaire versus NOUE in 2019 was a 50? How was that supposed to be a 50-50 fight? Nonito Donaire was damn near 40 years old. You telling me a 40-year-old man versus a young prime pound for pound fighter should be a 50-50 fight? Is that what you're telling me? A guy, and the crazy thing is, we seen Nonito Donaire lose multiple times. We even seen Nonito Donaire get knocked out cold by Nicholas Walters, right? So, Snoopy, you're not making sense, buddy. You're not making sense, bro. How is that supposed to be a 50-50 fight in 2019? That makes absolutely no sense. The man was damn near a freaking grandpa, bro. A 40-year-old Nonito Donaire who's been knocked out multiple times. Vicious, who's been knocked out viciously, has multiple losses. Is a 50-50 fight versus a NOUE? That wasn't supposed to be a 50-50 fight. What are you talking about? And NOUE also got his eye socket broken in that fight. Boots versus Virgil is a dream matchup for me. I would love to see that. What's good, Cybo? Salute. I feel you, Crowley, not great, but you may not see a title fight in Philly for a long time. Bud, the most skilled fighter. Holyfield was on the pound for pound rankings in 1997. I just checked. Salute, bro. I didn't know that. I wasn't around for 1997. I wasn't even born. I wasn't born in 97. The reason Usyk and Holyfield are on the pound for pound list is because they both moved up to heavyweight. Facts. It definitely should be revised. If Crawford and NOUE were in the same weight class, Bud would cook dude like egg fried rice. Ah, salute. I agree. NOUE went from 118 to 122. His first fight at 22 was the best guy, unified, undefeated champ, and then he destroyed him. Got to give him mad respect. And that's the only fight we can really talk about. Other than that, we don't know anybody on his resume except for 50-year-old Nonito Donaire. NOUE juice to the gills, fight in Japan. I'm just saying, hey yo, that's crazy. Bud best wins, tops NOUE best wins. That's facts. Hey yo, our era production salute. Salute to everybody in the chat. I didn't realize all these people was in the chat, y'all. I was going on my little rant. I'm gonna drop the link. I want some of you guys to come on here so we could talk, y'all. Our era. Strive. Salute, Brody. I gotta hop back on your live, Brody. My fault, gang. I gotta get back on your live, gang. I was supposed to come back, but I've been a little busy, my guy. My fault, Brody. My fault, gang. My fault. I should have hopped back on your live. I was a little busy though. I haven't even been live my damn self. Bud is that man. I got him smoking 154. If Turkey wants Bud versus Canelo next, I'm down. Salute, Snoopy. Bud is that man. But if you believe Bud is that man, then why are you putting a NOUE over Bud just based off of activity? That makes no sense, bro. Activity should only matter if one guy has more fights than the other guy. You cannot preach activity when one guy has more knockouts than the other guy has fights. Then the activity doesn't make sense. Hey, yo, hop on the live, buddy. Hop on the live, people. Hop on the live. I didn't know y'all was in the chat. I didn't know y'all was in the chat. Salute to World Combat Sports. Salute to my guy, Roz. Salute to my guy, Stroud, my Philly brother. Salute. Salute to Pound for Pound King, Bud Myers. My guy, Roz. Strive. World Combat Sports. Salute to everybody in the chat, man. Somebody hit that link. Come on here. Let's talk about this. Because my phone about to die. I got to go charge my phone. Somebody hit the live and let's get on here. And I want to hear y'all opinion. Hit the link. Great show, bro. Nothing but respect. Snoopy, salute, man. Snoopy, I'm just a little frustrated, okay? The reason why I'm frustrated is because, all right, Snoopy, let's just have a serious conversation, me and you for a second, all right, bro? Snoopy, listen to me. Are you truly telling me off of a new way was just number 2, right, on the pound for pound? This is why I'm mad, all right? And I want you to give me your honest opinion, bro. Don't talk about activity. Just give me your honest opinion for a second. Because Inoue was just number 2 on the pound for pound list. Are you telling me that after that performance versus Luis Natty, where he got dropped in the first round, where it was a big scare where we thought he was going to get knocked out, are you telling me that performance deserves to be number 1 pound for pound? You telling me if you was in charge of the pound for pound list, would you put him number 1 after his last performance? Is that what you telling me, Snoopy? And be honest with me, bro. Just give me your honest opinion. You ain't gotta lie. If you truly saying, yeah, I respect you. I'll give you your opinion. But if you want to be real, are you really gonna put him number 1 based off of his last performance? Come on, bro. You can't do that. That last performance does not put you number 1. You said, all right, Snoopy. You said if you take activity away, Bud is the best fighter, best pound for pound fighter in the world. Okay, I agree. But I'm saying this though. Snoopy. I hope you listening, because I don't think you heard what I said really good. I said, forget about activity. So we're gonna take activity away. I'm saying not just because you saying Bud is the best fighter in the world. If we take activity away, I'm saying let's forget about activity for a second. Let's look at his last fight. Through that performance where he almost got knocked out in the fight. We all knew he was going to knock the guy out anyway. Do that performance deserve the number one spot? That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying, bro. I'm not saying anything else except for his last performance. Should he have jumped past Bud or should he have stayed at number 2? Because if I was in charge of the list, after I seen him get dropped like that, I would have put him to number 3. I'm not going to lie to you. I would have put him to number 3. I would have been like, whoa, you almost got knocked out, bro. You scared me with that one. All right, Snoopy. That's the answer I'm looking for right there, Snoopy. You see, that's what that's so we have similar to, so we're believing the same thing is what I'm saying right now. We're believing the same thing. That's the answer I'm looking for right now. Off his last performance, there is no way he should have been pound for pound number 1. When we look at his last performance, he should have never took the number 1 spot off of beating Luis Neri. So we both agree on that. And that's the point I'm trying to make. So I'm not talking about activity. I'm not talking about none of that. I'm saying he was just number 2. We cannot put him number 1 off of his last performance. It makes no sense. And that's what I'm trying to say. And let me read what Cyborg had to say. He says, let's look at it like this. If Bud defended his 154 title against Lubin and got dropped, media would rip Bud. Exactly, bro. Exactly, Cyborg. That's exactly what I'm saying, bro. That's what I'm saying. You think if Bud was number 2 pound for pound and he was the champion and he fought Lubin like Cyborg is saying, and he got dropped like he did but still won the fight, you think if he was number 2 on the list, you think the media will put him at number 1 after what we just saw? That's the point I'm trying to make. I'm not saying NOUE isn't a great fighter. I'm saying based off of his last performance, that is not he does not take the number 1 spot for me. Not off of that last performance, he doesn't. So that's why I'm a little upset. That's why it's a slap in the face to a guy like me or any true boxing fans. That's all I'm saying. If Bud gets dropped versus Israel, no question, Bud will be criticized more. Exactly. If Bud goes in there and he gets dropped by a bigger guy, and Snoopy, we got to state all the facts too. He goes in there and he gets dropped by a bigger guy in Israel, not a smaller guy, a bigger guy, because that's Bud first time fighting at that weight class. He will get dropped from number 2 because he was number 1. They already dropped him to number 2. He'll get dropped from number 2 to probably like number 5, bro. If he gets dropped by Israel Madrimal, they're going to take Bud all the way to number 5, bro. Let's be real. They're going to take that man to number 5. They're going to take him. They're going to say, oh, my God, he got dropped by Israel Madrimal. Yeah, he won the fight, but he got dropped. He's not number 1 pound for pound. He's number 5. They're going to put that man at number 5. I didn't see this other comment from Steve92. He said, crazy because Bud, amongst many other fighters of a particular ethnicity, aren't allowed to get dropped. Steve92. You got to break that down. I didn't completely understand what you were trying to say, Steve92. Say that in a better way. Because what do you mean by Bud among other fighters of a particular ethnicity aren't allowed to get dropped? Are you trying to be smart? Are you trying to be smart, or are you being literal, or are you joking? Like, what are you trying to say, Steve? Are you saying we're only hating on NOUE because he got dropped? What is the point you're trying to make, bro? Steve 92. What point are you trying to make? Nobody is saying Bud is not allowed to get dropped. Oh, okay. That's what I'm trying to figure out. I thought he was saying like we're hating on the NOUE because the NOUE got dropped. No, we're saying he doesn't deserve the number one spot because he got dropped against a guy he was supposed to knock out like he did, but he should have never got dropped. He mean black people get criticized more for getting dropped. Steve 92, 100% correct. I agree. Shakur, Tank, Floyd, Ward, etc. are are guys aren't allowed to get dropped. I agree. Yeah. If they get dropped, they will get dropped on the pound for pound list to the bottom of the pound for pound list. They're held to a higher standard than the rest of guys on the pound for pound list, which is really bad for the sport of boxing. But guys, my phone is about to die. I gotta go take care of something. I'll be back on this thing. I'll do another live today. Let me see what time it is. It's early morning live. You guys are gonna see me. Hopefully, you guys are gonna see me around 2, 3. I'll see you guys at 2. So I'm gonna set up another live right now, and I'll see you guys at 2, and we'll talk more on boxing. I appreciate everybody for coming to the channel, everybody for engaging. Until next time, it's your boy No Credit. At the end of the day, this is boxing, a sport we all love. All I'm saying is everybody should just get treated fairly. That's all. That's all I'm saying. I just say everybody deserve a fair shake. And we need to hold everybody to a certain criteria, you know, and we shouldn't just pick fights based off of race and ethnicity. I've never been the type to say, oh, I'm picking this guy to win because he's black, or I'm picking this guy to win because he's Mexican. No, I pick off of boxing skills, IQ. That's the type of guy I am. I never pick off of race. I pick off of ethnicity. I said I pick off of ethnicity. No, I pick off his skill set. Yo, what the freak? I pick off his skill set, guys. I'm sorry. I pick off his skill set, IQ. That's what I pick off. Because at the end of the day, I put money on boxing. I bet my money. You think I'm gonna pick a guy to win because he's black and then go put money on it, knowing that the other guy is a better fighter? I'm gonna lose money. I'm not in the business of boxing to lose money. Because I am in the business of boxing because I do bet money on boxing. So I have to study the sport and not be biased to all of these fighters. I'm going to pick a guy because skills pays the bills. Yes, there are some upsets like Ryan Garcia versus Devin Haney. That was the upset. I took a little loss on that fight, because I felt like Devin Haney was the superior fighter. But I didn't really break down the fight based on the fact that Devin Haney was acceptable to Ryan Garcia left hook. I just never thought Devin Haney was going to let Ryan hit him with that left hook. But if I would have broke down the fight and wasn't caught up in Ryan Garcia antics, I would have saw that this fight was definitely a 50-50 fight. And indeed it was, because the fight ended as a majority decision for Ryan Garcia. So that could have been a 50-50 fight where it could have went either way. And what Devin wasn't supposed to allow Ryan to do, he allowed Ryan to do that. But the only problem is we now have controversies that Ryan was juicing, and that's a problem too. So now it makes everybody mad. Some people are like, man, I want my money back. I'll bet money for Devin to beat Ryan. But the fact that Ryan was juicing, it made me lose money, because that could have been the factor in the fight. But even though that could have been the factor, but we also have to take into account that Devin Haney still wasn't able to get away from Ryan Garcia left hook. So even without the juice, Ryan probably still could have won the fight. So that's why I'm like, Why would he even cheat if Devin couldn't even get away from the left hook? He didn't need the PEDs. He could have still won the fight. Do you understand what I'm saying? Ryan Garcia could have still won the fight because Devin Haney couldn't take away Ryan Garcia's left hook. Ryan could have still won the fight because his favorite punch is Devin Haney's weakness. So he could have still won the fight if he wasn't juicing. So that's why I was confused why he popped dirty for a banned substance, because when I watched the fight, Devin Haney was acceptable to the left hook all night. Seibel says it was probably lack of confidence. Yeah, Ryan probably didn't believe in his skill set. That's why he took the juice. But in reality, he really didn't need the juice. He really didn't need it because Devin Haney couldn't take away his left hand. But anyway, it's your boy No Credit, and I'm out. Until next time.